Hey guys, welcome to Crazy Burger. So in this video I'm going to be looking at 64-bit games coming to Evercade. Obviously we are getting Glover as part of the next Piko Collection coming to Evercade, albeit with some corner cutting I guess to make it work on Evercade systems. But could we also see Jaguar? Let's have a look. Okay guys, so obviously it was announced recently as part of Piko Collection 4, we're getting the Nintendo 64 version of Glover on Evercade, which is obviously something of a first, as previously the limitations were 32-bit in the form of PlayStation, although we haven't actually seen an awful lot of PlayStation games on Evercade sadly, but we are now suddenly getting Nintendo 64 games. Now I'm actually surprised. I thought we would have probably seen the PlayStation version of Glover, although I think arguably it probably isn't the best version at all. So we're getting Nintendo 64 version of Glover, but I think they're certainly making some shortcuts in the form of obviously turning off the anti-aliasing, because if you look at the graphics, there's a lot of jaggies on the graphics as part of their footage that was released last month. Now that's not something that you would have seen in a lot of Nintendo 64 games, because they were notorious for blurring out all those jaggy edges, and they just had that soft feel to it. If you had a Nintendo 64 back in the day, you'll know what I'm talking about. It was obviously very soft, looked very smooth almost, and if you look at the graphics that is provided in the video, it's quite clearly that they've had to make some shortcuts, and that's probably one of the things that sticks out and is quite obvious to me. So if we look at the actual Nintendo 64-bit version running on emulation, it's obviously a lot smoother. Now obviously it's not really a good comparison, because on emulation you've got lots of shaders, you've got high definition graphics, so it's not really a perfect representation of what it would have looked like on an actual N64. It would have been a lot sort of blurrier, obviously definition would have been a lot lower as well, but you get the idea. Blaze have obviously had to make a lot of shortcuts to the 64-bit version coming to Evercade, and I'm guessing with all those jaggies, that is one of the things they've had to cut away so that it would run properly on Evercade products. Now I'm actually quite impressed it's running at all, so it would be interesting to find out the details that went into making Glover for the Evercade products. Obviously they've had to make a lot of shortcuts, so it will be interesting. Hopefully they make a video about that, because it will be quite fascinating to find out how it worked. But for me, looking at the Evercade version, it doesn't really scream out Nintendo 64 to me, and it looks a lot more like the PlayStation version. And speaking of which, here is the PlayStation version. Now, I don't think it's quite as good. It's got a lot of differences to it, and you can quite clearly see that there's a lot more jaggies in this version. The design of the game is a little bit different as well. Obviously, graphically, it looks similar, but there's a lot of differences within the actual gameplay, and you can clearly see there's a lot more jaggies. So the PlayStation version does look closer to the Evercade version in the fact there's tons of jaggies all over the place, but the game is definitely the Nintendo 64-bit we're getting, just with extra jaggies, and it looks more like the PlayStation graphically, which is kind of interesting. But anyway, hopefully we will get some details on how Evercade have gone about the emulation for Evercade products, and we can understand what they've actually done to get it running, which is, I guess, quite impressive in its own way. But anyway, as part of this video, I was going to look at Atari Jaguar. Could we see that on Evercade? Let's have a look. So there's no doubt that Atari emulation has taken big strides in the last couple of years thanks to Big PEmu, and I'm pretty sure this is the emulation that was used for Atari 50 collection. We've seen a few Jaguar games on there, and that was thanks to Big PEmu that we got those running, and they were running fantastically well. And obviously if you look at the information here, it's completely free, so there's no reason why Blaze couldn't get this emulation working on Evercade. Could it be possible? Would the devices be powerful enough to actually play these games? Honestly, that's probably the bit that's hard to actually say. Obviously it's not been possible before because the emulation's been pretty awful for a number of years, but in the last couple of years, thanks to Big PEmu, we can play lots of cool games such as Atari Karts, which is probably arguably better than Street Racer that's coming to Piko Collection 4. Could we see Atari Jaguar on Evercade? I think it's possible. Fingers crossed it happens. Let's have a look at some other games we could see.
Well done. Ouch.
So this edition is probably more of a wish list rather than something we'll ever see on Evercade, due to the huge licensing that it would probably cost to get onto Evercade, which would be a shame because what a fantastic game it is. And it's great to actually finally play this properly and how it was meant to be played. Very atmospheric, very cool. Absolutely brilliant. But yeah, I don't think we'd ever see this game, sadly, but it would be really nice. Guys, let me know what you think. Do you think we'll ever see Atari Jaguar on Evercade products? Maybe we'll get some new hardware at the end of the year that would be capable of running this as well. So there could be a few sort of permutations there that would maybe make this possible at some stage. So we'll have to keep that in mind. Anyway guys, thanks very much for watching our video. I'll catch you again in the next one. Bye for now.